Welcome to the core skills video on probing, more specifically combat probing after the Odyssey expansion. The Odyssey expansion brought a lot of changes to probing that are really cool, and they make probing a lot faster than it used to be. Some of those changes are the insta drop of probes. You can drop all your probes with one click of the button. Beyond that, there's also the fact that you can do formations now. You don't have to individually move all the probes. You can move all the probes with just one, basically, probe. You can move just one thing and it moves all the probes. You can put them into the ideal formations, do whatever you want, much faster. So I'd say that probing is now, it's got to be at least 3 or 4 times faster than it used to be. That means it could be more, it should lead to more PvP for people who use probes. And one of the tricks that I've always taught people to use on camps, or if you're PvPing with an alt on a nullsec, or with a fleet on a nullsec entrance gate or something where people use a lot of tacticals, is to move 0.5 AU probes right over the gate, scan, get the tactical, and warp up to them. You can leave them there, or you can move them just out of scan range and then move them in and out every once in a while to catch people off guard and probe them out and then warp up to their tacticals and kill them. So that's a good tactic there. But for now, we're going to get to scanning and we're going to jump into KFR. If I was doing this seriously, I'd have Sisters probes, Sisters expanded. I'd have all the stuff. You want to get your scan strength as high as possible to make probing as fast as possible. So whatever you can do to get that scan strength higher, the gravity rigs, all that stuff. So right now I've just jumped in. I want to first start moving away from gate, pulse the afterburner, or micro-warp drive, whatever you happen to have. See, there's a blackbird on scan. Okay, I want to scan him out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first, before I go and drop probes and let him know that I'm here, I'm going to try to figure out roughly where he's at. So first, let's use directional. Try to get him on 180. We got him on 180. Get him on 90. All right, we know he's roughly in this direction. Get on 60. He's gone. Even before you use probes, you usually want to check, see if he's in a belt or something warpable. You don't use probes until you know he's not somewhere you can already warp to. If you can find him with directional, it's always better to find him with directional because he has less warning you're coming. So try that first. Since I've got him at 30 degrees, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck use active overview settings, and I'm going to select. Now if there was a moon there, a pause, if he was doing an anomaly, well, I'd see the anomaly with the new scanner thing. But if he was doing like a mission or something, I would see the Rex, I would see the moon, I would see the pause. As soon as you uncheck use active overview settings, it shows everything. So if I go to 360, you'll see just a bunch of garbage. Everything. So I know that he's at a safe spot. There's nothing around him. That means he's at a safe spot. So that means it's time to figure out what his range is. You can see the default range here. It's 14 AU. And that's, what, 21 billion, or 2.1 billion. Take that 2, turn it into a 1. You got 7 AU. Take off 2 1s and add a 6. And now you've got 3.5 AU. Take that 6, turn it into a 3. And you've got roughly just under 2 AU. So we know he's more than 2, less than 4 AU. And he's in that direction. Let's zoom out some, see if we can see what that direction is relevant to everything else. So we can see it's right there. Let's fill this back up with 9s real quick. Now, so it's kind of off in the middle of nowhere. Alright, so it's behind the gate, and he's roughly off. Okay, so we know basically he's about 2 to 4 AU behind the gate. Let's pull up the map before we drop our probes. Make sure we're moving in a good direction. And pull up the map. So we know that he is behind the gate over in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncloak, drop the probes, hit the afterburner, and recloak as soon as possible. The reason I hit the afterburner is to get away from the probes so I can cloak. Alright, I'm cloaked up now. I want to make sure the probes are on me, not in the center of the system. Sometimes they'll spawn in the center of the system. Alright, let's put them at 4 AU. They're already there. That's good. And let's move them about, I don't know, just a little bit behind the gate, because that's where we saw them. Make sure they're on the right plane. Sometimes you'll have them there and they'll be like way up top, so it's good to look at them from multiple angles before you scan. And you run the scan and you see what you get. Alright, so we got a ship, 18.5%. Some of you may notice that it's right at one of my bookmarks, but just ignore that. We're going to pretend that it's not. Put the probes directly on top of where it says the ship is, and then grab a probe, left click, and shrink them down to 2 AU. Be kind of tricky sometimes. Move it back on the center. You should be quicker at this. Like I said, I'm not all that practiced. And probe again. So it's 18.5 the last time. Let's see what we get this time. That's the Blackbird, so might be a little bit tougher than some other ships. We're close. So let's take the probes down to 1 AU. Put them back on the target. I right click to drag the whole screen. Left click to rotate around. Alright, and we'll get them with this one. Now if you had good scan strength, good skills, you had the right rigs, the right probes, all that good stuff, you would probably get this ship at a 4 AU scan. So your first scan, you probably would have got him. So let's go ahead and warp to him. And as soon as you find him, you want to pull in your probes as quickly as possible, because the idea is you don't want him to see that you're probing him. So pull in the probes, and you wouldn't be warping your scanning ship on top of him. I'm just doing it for the sake of the video. If it was me in the fleet and I was trying to warp my fleet on top of him or warp a tackler on top of him, I would right click and you'd have like warp squad right there. Or you could warp to 10, right click and warp to 10, and then have your tackler warp in on you while you're moving so it doesn't land directly on top of you. And you can see I landed directly on top of the target. So, successful probe. That's basically it for the Odyssey probes. The big highlights are the formations. You've got the pinpoint formation and you've got the spread formation. Spread's kind of to just get a general idea, I think, and pinpoints to actually find the target. I don't use spread hardly, or I haven't used it yet, so I use pinpoint all the time. It seems to work the best. It's really awesome that you can resize all the probes at once and they automatically kind of shrink back down to that pinpoint formation. That's really cool, and it's really cool that you can launch all the probes at once also, because it used to be to launch 8 probes you'd be sitting there waiting for each cycle. It's like a 2 or 3 second cycle, so it could take you like 20 seconds or more to launch all your probes, and that's just wasted time. Now you can do it all at once, and you can move them in, and you can probe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times faster than you used to be. So use that, and definitely take advantage of using it on gates where people like to use tacticals, like for gate camps in low sec, entry systems to null sec. You can just leave them out there at a 0.5 AU around the gate, or you can move them off, which is what I do. I'll move them about 20 AU off. It's really easy and quick to do. Then run a scan so they actually move. If you don't run the scan, they don't move. And then once I see somebody go to a tactical, they're already pretty much in the right position. I just have to drag them on one axis on top of the gate, then hit scan again, and I can usually get them first shot, first run of the scan, and warp in on them in less than 30 seconds. So if they're not paying attention, you can get some good kills that way.